I'm not going to sell you a house just to sell you a house. It's never just a transaction for me. Like, if I'm going to work with you, I want you to trust me. I want to build a good rapport, a good relationship with you, that you trust what I'm telling you, that these might be the best steps for you. It's important for me to make sure that they know it's not just a sale, that I am also a human being. I'll guide you as best as I can, and I'll be honest with you.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll, and I'm here with Katelyn Starceski. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah, very good, very good.
All right, perfect. Hey, so today we're talking about Katelyn. She's local here in Pittsburgh. I'm going to have her tell you a little bit about it. She's a real estate agent, though, and she also wrote a book, which is really interesting for families moving, especially for the kids. So, Katelyn, give everybody a little background on, like, what do you do?
I am a real estate agent in the Pittsburgh area, mainly the South Hills, like Upper St. Clair, Mount Lebanon, Bethel Park, all the fun places into the South Hills. I work for RE/MAX Select Realty, and I've been with them for 6 years now. I have a partner, Amanda Walton, and we have a team here in the South Hills under RE/MAX. And I actually have been helping families, obviously, for years. And one thing that I've always loved to do is give gifts to families. And when they're moving, it's either something to remember their house by or something for the new house. And one thing that always was big for me was there's no book to give the children about this change. So yeah, I wrote a book. So I guess I'm also an author now. It came out a year ago in February. It's called This House Is So Special to Me. I have it there. And it's more so for kids, I would say maybe elementary age, to help them with the transition of moving and the big feelings that come with it. So I personally have a family that moved. We've moved in the last year, and it was helpful for my children. I have two little kids, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I have been married to my husband for 10 years now. We've moved all over the place, and it's always been hard. But I felt that children also need an outlet to, express those feelings too, because just as much as it's hard for a family or an adult to move, it's hard for the kids to experience that change too.
Yeah, I agree. So what made you want to write a book for kids?
Well, like I said, I help a lot of families, and there's not a lot of genre of moving or a new house, or like one book I used to give the kids all the time was Dr. Seuss, Come Over to My House. And it's not really like, it's a rhymey kind of book. It's not a feelings kind of book. And there are some other books out there about moving and, finding a new house, and they're great, but there's just not a big demographic for it. And for me, I've seen kids, they have a hard time. As much as parents don't think, okay, they'll adapt, they'll do this, they'll do that, the kids still have feelings and memories. And, when you bring them home somewhere, even for the parents, I've had parents read the books and they're tearing up because it's hard for them to change too. Like, they brought their kid home from the hospital maybe to this house, and now they're selling it. And so it was important to me. So I've never been a writer. You could ask my English teachers. I wasn't always good at English, but I've always written though. I've always kept notebooks. I still have notebooks from high school that I would write notes or song lyrics or quotes that were special to me. I always would keep them in a notebook. I still have the notebooks from when I was younger. So as I was helping families, I'd say in the last, maybe 2 years, I would just jot down ideas of a sentence or a plot for a book, and I just kept it in my notes app. And then I eventually just sat down and I was like, I should research this. I should look into how do you do this? Because at the time, Amazon self-publishing started to be a big thing. So I started watching a lot of YouTube, a lot of TikToks about how do you write a children's book? What steps do you take? So I just started researching multiple videos and just taking my own notes and doing my own research and going through. And, it just kind of came out of me, and I was able to put this together. It took me probably 8 to 9 months from start to finish. And the majority of the time was just going back and forth, mainly with my illustrator. It took some time because I had a vision in my head of how I wanted it to look. And I am not an artist either. So I had her change things, and it would take her time to change those things. So, and obviously, getting the ISBN number, we can get into all of that kind of stuff. And I had it copyrighted. And so I wanted to make sure everything was done before I got it, for sale.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to pick your brain on the writing process here in a minute. So I think it's interesting. So I'm a real estate investor. So I'm not on the agent side, but I buy properties from families. And I know a lot of our listeners also too. They buy properties from families. A lot are in distressed situations, like might be going into foreclosure, or might be going in, have a problem property or things like that, or it might be grandma's house that they just inherited, things like that. So it's interesting because say someone's going into foreclosure. Number one, the family's dealing with issues in itself. Like and you have to have empathy there. Like the father might have lost his job or the mother lost her job, things like that. So they're struggling, number one. And a lot of times the kids get overlooked because the parents are dealing with their own stuff, trying to just like do life. So in this situation, I think it can help a lot. It's like, hey, you know what? When I'm talking with the family, here's something for your kids. And you just give it as a gift to help them out. Plus, it helps build rapport too. They're like, okay, well, you actually care about us, not just trying to do a deal.
Right. And that's kind of like the agent that I am personally. Like, it's never just a transaction for me. Like, if I'm going to work with you, I want you to trust me. I want to build a good rapport, a good relationship with you, that you trust what I'm telling you, that these might be the best steps for you. So it's always been important for me. I have made really great friends along the way with a lot of my clients. And, some of them were pregnant when I sold them a house, and now the kid is like 2, 3, and it's amazing. I bump into them and I see them, and, and they'll tell me, I saw you wrote a children's book and I have to get it. And, all of these things, but it's important for me to make sure that they know it's not just a sale, that I am also a human being. And I like to do business as, if you trust your parents to come and look at the house with you, or a home inspector, you want to know an opinion, I'll guide you as best as I can, and I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to sell you a house just to sell you a house, because if I see red flags in that house, I'm going to say, hey, these are some big things you need to look into that might not be the best decision for your family, or maybe this neighborhood is something you need to look into. Obviously, I can't give certain advice because it's up to their discretion to do the research themselves, but I'm still going to guide them lawfully, how I should with my license, and still be upfront with them if, hey, this is too much for your budget, or some, there's all kinds of scenarios out there.
Right. That's cool. So okay, so you got all these notes that you've been writing down, right?
Yeah.
So, because I know I just wrote a book, I know what my process was, and it was like it was different than I thought writing a book would be.
Right.
So you got these notes. Like, how do you take the idea in your head, which you might not even known specifically what you wanted it to be yet? Mm-hmm. Like, how did that timeline work, and like, what'd you do?
So, obviously, like, I have young kids, so I'm always reading children's books. And one thing about children's books is there is constant repetition. So, like, something in a story, for most stories that are shorter, there's a line, there's a word that's just consistently through there. And so for my book, I just always had the words, this house is so special to me, throughout the story, because you're going through these moments and you keep thinking in your head, but this house is so special to me. And so I think that was probably one of the first things I wrote down. And I wrote down the idea of leaving a house and moving somewhere new that you're uncertain of, or you're unsure of, because you had all your birthdays here, you baked cakes here, you lost your tooth here. So I wrote that all down, and then I summarized it. I had my husband read it a few times. He's not by any means any kind of English person either. So my mom is a teacher, so I did send it to her, and she looked over it for me too, and was like blown away that I came up with this short story. But I did hire an editor, and I think that's super important for anyone writing a book, that just because you think maybe you might be the best at writing, but somebody else is going to look at it and maybe perceive it or read it differently how you're reading it. And maybe like for me, I'm a if you couldn't tell, I'm a wordy person. So sometimes sentences are just too wordy and they just need to be like snipped down. So when I did send it off to an editor, I think I had one or two lines that she just kind of reworded them shorter. But for the most part, it was just she had minor edits to it. But it was important for me to have someone edit my work because I also wanted to get it into libraries, get it into like the hands of anybody, and I don't want like the grammar to be incorrect.
Right. Now,
So
when you were looking at editors, did you find a specific editor that dealt with kids' books, and where'd you find them?
yes. So I found an editor. So I used everything I did, editor, illustrator, and page layout editor was all through this website, Fiverr, Fiverr.com. And it is a website for freelancers. So you could go on there and you could find honestly anyone that you're looking for. But there was a specific TikTok that I saw, and I can't remember her handle, so I'm gonna have to look it up. But she had sent or she put this whole TikTok about how to write a book in simple steps that were amazing, phenomenal. Because other TikToks are like follow for part 17 to see what you have to do next, and hers was all short and it was very informative. So I found her on Fiverr and I wrote her a message and I said, I watched your TikTok. I'm writing a children's book and I would love to hire you as my editor. And so she did my editing for me, sent it back with a beautiful letter about how well she thought that the book would do. And it was like a genre that was needed. And it was very special to me that she did that. And I even sent her a copy of the book when it was finished. But yeah, that's kind of like how I found her. My illustrator she's from the Philippines. So she was on Fiverr. So that's why it took a little bit because the time difference. But through the website, we were able to communicate and she understood. And like for me, the house on the front is the house that I grew up in. And so it's special to me. I haven't lived there for, oh gosh, probably, I'm not even going to say how many years, but I grew up in this house. My dad built a lot of this house. We moved in when I was 4. And I have this one picture of the front of the house and I sent it to her and this is it. This is the house. And then these are my children. I sent her a picture of my kids and she made them into characters. And that's another thing on Fiverr that's great. You can look through all of these illustrators' work and you can decide like what type of illustrations you're looking for. For me, I wanted more of like a cartoony kind of look, but most illustrators they have like the traditional style, or if you just want black, like just stick drawings, like whatever you wanted. They do samples of their drawings and then you just work with them to do all the pages. So I worked with her, and then my page layout editor was from Belgium, I believe, or another country. I worked with all females, but she did all of the wording to match like the fun characters. Like they're just a really cool style that's not just like black and white lettering throughout the book.
That's cool. Yeah, because I have a copy of the book here too, and yes, I got a copy as well. What's interesting? Okay, so let me ask you this. So first thing is, because like I wrote a book, and the way I did it, I free wrote, and I ended up coming up with like 150 pages of words, like a ton of words.
Good for you. Yeah.
Well, but a kid's book, it has to be like very short, direct messaging. So how did you come up with a story and make it like, I'm looking at this one page, it's got like 10 words on it.
Yeah.
So how did you take your story and break it down into like such bite-sized pieces and then put pictures with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of kept at it for like, I would say the writing part took me like a couple of months. So it was big, but then I realized like for Amazon, there's a certain criteria. I think for you to have a book for sale, it has to be minimal 20 pages. So I kind of was trying to figure out is this enough for the 20 pages? So the page layout woman, like she had like broken it down so that like only so many words. Like if you look at like the last page, there's a lot, like there's a couple more sentences on the last page. So she was able to break it down, and then I was able to work with the illustrator and have her, make the pictures along the way. But for me, it was just a process of like, okay, I can't make this too wordy because like I have my son who is 3 at the time. Like he's not going to sit down and listen to this. So even like my kids, I would read it to them and see like, are you going to listen to it or are you not going to listen to it? So I would chip away that way. And then I also have a bunch of like really like my best friends are teachers too. So along with my mom, I have friends. So I would send it to them and they would read it to like their other teachers. And they were all shocked that I didn't have any kind of like English background because like it was just, it flowed. I don't know. It just kind of like worked out. I can't like, it was just a domino effect. Yeah.
So now when you originally wrote it, did you write it as a short story too, or did you have to keep like, did you have a longer story and keep having to make it shorter and shorter? Or originally, was it like almost written for kids already?
No, I would say it was a longer story and I kind of veered off into a couple of directions. I have like other notes that I've kept off of, like I've taken some of the like sentences or paragraphs that I've wrote before and I moved them into I turned them into a different direction. Like I would like to write more books about the house process. I would like to make it kind of like a series. But some of the sentences and paragraphs that I wrote just didn't make sense with this particular book. It kind of started taking a different turn of like one idea that I had was to write a house. This is like moving from one to another. Now I want to do one that's like you're selling that house now. So like from that perspective, you're like making a wish for the new family that's coming into that house. So it's kind of similar, kind of not, but I had it all together and then I kind of took some of the pieces out to like, and I'm like, wait, I can make another story from that angle. So, and it's kind of just flowed. And then I have a couple other ideas, but I'm going to keep them under wraps. But yeah, so anytime I have like a thought or an idea, it's like the weirdest thing. Like even in the middle of the night, I'll like sit up and I'll just like go in my notes app and I'll be like, write something down so
Yeah.
I don't forget it.
It seems like I get the best ideas right when I wake up in the morning and in the shower.
Yeah. See, there you go. You should do like voice recordings while you're in the shower.
Right. I think a lot of people have a lot of people in the shower because there's nothing to do. It's like you're just thinking, you don't have tech around you, distracting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you're saying you came up with a story, refined it, pulled in a kids editor. Mm-hmm. They tweaked it up for you, made it shorter, like reworded things like what an editor would do. Mm-hmm. Then you found the person, and this was all on Fiverr. Mm-hmm. Found the illustrator, and then basically put it all together, right?
Yeah, and the page layout editor also, she formatted it for Amazon for me. So all I had to do was like download and then how that goes. Like you download it and put it. It has to be in a specific format. So she did that for me. And then I also am on Barnes and Noble website as a hard copy. I think that's what you have, the hard copy too. And I had to go through a process with Barnes and Noble to get approval to be on their website. I guess you can't be in the store until you like sell so many copies or, you're a big deal. So hopefully one day, but yeah. And even when I had to do the hard copy formatting, I had to go back to that page editor and ask her to reformat that for me because theirs was a little bit different.
So you're saying you have the illustrator, they basically just do the artwork, mm-hmm. and then it goes to the page, what'd you call it, a page layout editor?
Yeah. There might be a better term, but yeah, that's pretty much.
And then they format it. Mm-hmm. It's got like the corners and everything, and you just upload that. That's actually formatted how Amazon KDP needs to actually print the book.
And she also made sure that the lettering, she did the lettering too, the page editor. And she also made sure that the coloring was like up to code for Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
So what? So you have, just so I understand right, you got the illustrator. Are they just drawing the pictures? They're not even putting words over them, right?
No, yeah. That's something I didn't know. I thought she did the words. But when she sent me the finished product, all she sent me was just like in black writing the words on the pages, and then she gave me another copy of just blank pages. So then that's when, the research dug in further, and I'm like, because I had asked her and she's like, no, that's not something that I do. She said, I can if you want me to. And I'm like, no, wait, hold on. And I did some research, and that's when I came up to this like next stage of an editor who does like the lettering, and she did even the this page, like she asked me for the ISBN number and the copyright information, and she put like all of this, that you would find in a normal book in there for me, and then she did all of this. And she made this page for me, which like is so cool. I wasn't even anything I was expecting. I was expecting just like blank pages, and all of them just exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, so that's interesting. If you don't mind me asking, like, how much did the illustrator cost? How much do you think they charged on each phase?
I would say a couple $100 for each phase of it. I don't know. I don't remember total, but I sent them both a book, which was, they were like, no one ever does this. No one ever sends us like our actual work. That's so cool. But yeah, no, it was like, but it was in phases. Like you're saying, like I think I had her do like the first few pages, and then she said, if you like it, or I'll tweak it or whatever. And then we moved on to the next set of phases, and so on and so forth until it was finally all together. But yeah, I would say like each phase was probably a couple $100.
Okay, so a couple things there. First thing is, I agree with what you said there too, because when I did my book, like even hiring an editor, I would have them edit a couple pages. I hired like 4 or 5 at a time and said, hey, just do a couple pages as a test. And then I picked the one I wanted, and then I went on like that. Same thing. But what's interesting is everyone thinks it costs a ton of money to write a book. Like you're saying, it costs a little bit of money, but you're not spending $50,000.
No,
You know?
no, it costs more, I think, to like market it and finally get it out there. And obviously you're putting all this money up front, at first, and you want to see it back. So you're doing everything to get it out there. So of course you're going to spend some more money doing that. I was approached also by a, oh gosh, I don't know if you would say a PR person or like someone who, oh gosh, they like
market your book for you and
yeah,
stuff.
like an agent or something like that. Because there are like Scholastic, Penguin books, like those big, huge publishers won't even look at you. Disney, unless you have an agent that that's very well known that presents the book to them, because you can't just go into those kind of places, and most publishers, you can't just go in and say, hi, I wrote a book and it's on Amazon. Even I've had trouble with going to like small indie bookstores. Like they don't buy from Amazon. Like they have told me they buy from, I believe it's Ingram. It's like a smaller publishing company. But I don't know how you feel, but I liked Amazon because I had the full control of how it looked, how I wanted it done. And the time frame and everything was my creative control. So that was another reason why I went down the avenue that I went down.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. So I think a lot of people think there's all these different. So here's what we're talking about Amazon. You can go through, make a PDF, or like you get it formatted, and you upload that format to Amazon. And then number one, Amazon will list it for sale. So you're immediately on Amazon for sale. But you can also buy your own books for a couple bucks. So like, for example, my book, I can buy my book. I think it's like $2.97. They ship it to me printed, like just like a book, which if I went to a printer to try to just get the book printed, it might cost me $10 just to print it, unless I bought like thousands. So Amazon allows you to buy like 5 books at a time if you want for like under $3, but it's also self-published. So if you're doing that, some bookstores look at self-published like you're not really serious. You're not published by a publisher. You did it yourself.
Right.
Because a lot of self-published people just whip stuff together and it's kind of crappy.
Yeah.
And there's so many people do it. But if you're anyone thinking about writing a book, check it out. It's Amazon KDP. You can upload it there. super easy. It doesn't cost anything except for like if you want to print copies, you just pay for the printing.
Yeah. And one thing, I don't know what you ended up doing, but I purchased my own ISBN. I did not use Amazon, because from my research, if you use Amazon, which they will offer you the ISBN for free to publish with them, which most people take, because then you don't have to pay this extra cost. I didn't want that, because then I wouldn't be able to sell it anywhere else. So if I were to eventually get it in the right hands and a publisher would like to buy it from me, then I can give it to them because I have this ISBN number, or they could buy it in bulk with the warehouse pricing or whatever Amazon does through that KDP program. So
Right. Tell
that's
everybody
another
what
one.
the ISBN number is.
Oh, the ISBN number, every single book ever has this number above the barcode, and it says ISBN. So this number specifically is owned by this book. Um, so I bought like a pack of 10 ISBN numbers, because I figure I probably will write more as it goes on. But it's basically saying that that number belongs to this book. So when you look that number up, it should pop this book up.
And you're saying
for
you bought your ISBN yourself. You own the ISBN versus if you upload to Amazon, they'll give you one automatically, but
Right.
they own that ISBN, not you.
Right. So you can't sell it anywhere else. And I didn't want that. So that was important to me too.
Yep.
So.
All right, very cool. And now, where's the best place for people to get the book? Right on Amazon, or do you have a website? Like, what's the easiest way?
Okay, so it's on Amazon. You can search it, or if you go on Barnes and Noble and you would like a hard copy, you can go and search it on there. I also have my Instagram with my link tree. So my Instagram is kstarhomespgh, and I have it listed there. Both links on there. Or you reach out to me and I'll send you the link. So yeah, there's all different kind of places. And locally, I actually have it for sale in Trax Farms Market. It's by the kids' books over in that department. So yeah, so I'm everywhere.
So basically, they're going to search "This House Is So Special to Me" on Amazon, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay. And then if somebody wants to reach out locally here in Pittsburgh for real estate services, what's the best way to connect there?
You can reach out to me. My email is the same as my Instagram handle, kstarhomespgh@gmail.com. Or, you could go on my Instagram, reach out to me. Again, there's a link tree there with all my contact information.
Okay, cool. Hey, well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Oh, hey, one last question for you here, too.
Yeah.
If, say, an investor or an agent wants to order in bulk, like they wanted to give these to families and things like that, that would most likely make sense for them to reach out to you on Instagram or something and order them directly versus ordering on Amazon, right?
Yeah, correct. And I've had some brokerages reach out to me too about like selling them in the office. And my husband works for a builder, and they will have them soon in their model homes for sale. So yeah, there's multiple places you could go and get it from.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so anyone, if you want to order bulk, order them, just because then it works out better.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier.
Okay, cool. Hey, well, Katelyn, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
All right, everyone, thanks for listening. Get out there, crush it, close some deals. We'll see you guys next time.